What is going on, guys? It's your boy K-Mac here, back at you with another one of those cartoon conspiracy theories. Now, this one is actually left to me in the comments from one of the previous videos, like I do every one. We're going to be doing the Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends theory today. And this is actually a pretty good theory, and I actually liked this show when I was a little bit younger, probably in 7th, 8th grade. I still watched this show. But let's go ahead and dive into this. Now, it says here that Mac is actually an orphan. His mother's never around, and that's why his imaginary friend, Blue, was needed to keep him company. His biological mother protected Mac the most because he was too young to defend himself. The reason why his biological mother isn't around anymore is because she apparently murdered his father because he was beating on them and molesting them. So she went to jail for life for voluntary manslaughter, even though it was kind of a nice thing to do. I guess it's never really a nice thing to kill someone, but she was protecting her son Mac and the other son Terrence by murdering her husband and their father. And the reason why Terrence apparently always picks on Mac is because the way he sees it is that his mother, their mother rather, went to jail to protect Mac and not to protect him, and that she loved him more, and so that he is going to make Mac's life living hell, basically, just because he misses his mother and he blames it on Mac and not on his father. Now, being an orphan and being from such a rough background and having not a whole lot of friends, it's clearly obvious why Mac created Blue, his imaginary friend, in the first place. But when his quote-unquote next mother, or new mother, the person they introduced as his mother, but it's not really his mother, it's actually his social worker in the first episode, tells him to get rid of Blue and it's time to grow up. That's when Mac runs away from his wherever he's living. It's not his real home, it's like a foster's home, but also why it might be called Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, obviously. He runs away to an old lady's house, and if you know anything about old ladies, they usually live in old Southern style houses, at least some of them do, and usually don't have a whole people living with them. Their spouse is either dead and their kids are all moved out, so they have this old Southern style house, that's just old, full of rooms, and there's no one living in it but her. So naturally, already having one imaginary friend and having this giant house full of no one to talk to or play with, he creates multiple imaginary friends to fill the rooms, and each of them symbolize something like a fear, a hope, a dream, or truth about his former lives. And we're going to go over all of these characters one by one and break them down exactly what they mean into all these segments. First off, we're going to start with Blue. Blue basically was a reincarnation of his biological father. Even though his father beat on him and was a terrible person, did drugs, went to jail a lot, and did all those bad, terrible things, Mac really wanted to be friends with his father, as do most children. They, naturally love their father, and they want their father to be their friend. So that's why he created a kind of likeness of his father in a certain way. And it's why Blue is always getting into trouble and mischief and always trying to be a show-off. It's because it's basically a child attempt at making a less terrible version of his father, because he doesn't know that he's not really up to speed with all the drugs and whatever. He's not, doesn't obviously know what all of that is yet. He's still a child. So instead of being a drug addict, he just gets into trouble and creates mischief a lot. So he's bad. He's not really a bad person, but that's why Blue is there. Next up is Wilt. Now, if you remember Wilt, he was the tall red one, that like the basketball player, the play on the name Wilt Chamberlain. But that's not really what he has anything to do with what he's actually representing. He's actually representing a form of Mac's mother. But you can really see this from Wilt being excessively polite and apologetic. He's constantly saying, "I'm sorry," constantly apologizing to people. And the stubby arm and the stitches indicate that Mac had witnessed some of his mom's beatings that she had gotten from his father. This is really creepy, actually. It makes a lot of sense. And lastly, he's red, and red represents love in a lot of cultures, and symbolizing his love for his mother. Next up is Coco. Now, Coco was a weird little bird thing. It kind of looked like an airplane mixed with a bird, if you remember. But Coco was an excessive want to leave with his mother and leave his brother with his father. And his biological mother made these promises to him many times that they were going to leave, that she was going to leave him, that they were going to basically just leave and stay away from the hurt of his father. But his father made this financially impossible, being the breadwinner of the family. He made it impossible for that to happen, and also, made it hurt even worse after he found out they wanted to leave. But also, Mac had never had to drink Coco, and his mother had always promised to make him hot chocolate or Coco, but she never got around to it before she was taken away to prison. So that's why she's named Coco, and that's why the bird can only say Coco, because it's a promise that he was never gotten, just like the promise that they would never leave. That's also why Coco is shaped like an airplane, kind of, because they're supposed to take a flight and leave to his mother's grandmother's house, but they never did. Next up is Eduardo. Now, Eduardo was a giant purple, scary-looking guy, but he was very timid and stuff, if you remember. But it says here that Eduardo is the combination of how Mac would act around his father's potty mouth, and the monster that his father turned his mother into when she eventually had to kill him. Now, it says here that Eduardo's large size, overwhelming strength, and menacing demeanor shows that his mom had the upper hand, maybe having the element of surprise when she killed her husband. Eduardo is also docile, timid, lacks confidence, and is very compassionate, which shows more of his mother's actual traits. Also, Eduardo loves potatoes, and Mac loved his mother's cheesy potatoes, which is why that Eduardo loves potatoes, because he loved his mother's dishes she usually made for supper, for dinner. It was Mac's favorite dish that his mother made was cheesy potatoes. That's why Eduardo loves potatoes. And lastly, we have Mr. Herman, which was the old-fashioned rabbit, basically an old person, a father figure, kind of. He was created because Mac needed some kind of order, with his father being such a loser and beating on him. He needed a father figure that wasn't a piece of shit in his life, and someone that could, really keep things under wraps and keep things under control in his life. He needed someone to be that figure for him in his life, so he created Mr. Herman. Mr. Herman was actually technically kind of Madame Foster's imaginary friend, but with her age, her mind was starting to slip. So towards when Mac arrived at her house, she went basically along with pretty much everything that he said, and had her old age. Who could blame her for having an imaginary friend and wanting to help a child in need with such a terrible background? She just played along with it, basically, and that between the two of them, they came up with Mr. Herman. Now, as far as some of the other real characters go in the show, there was Frankie, the granddaughter of Madame Foster. She's basically there waiting for her grandmother to pass so she can inherit the fortune and the mansion. She's basically just there to take care of her grandmother, so basically her grandmother puts her in the will and all those kinds of, things that greedy, selfish people do, I suppose. I don't know if it's too greedy or selfish. She does care about her. She's not doing it just for that, but that is why she is there. It says here that after a few months of doing this, she became pretty good friends with Mac, who was also living there at the time, and she basically played along with his delusions just to take care of them. She knew that both him and his grandmother were having these imaginary friends, because Mac was a child having imaginary friends, and her grandmother was basically slowly losing her mind to Alzheimer's, so she had imaginary friends. So she went along with it, and the people you see coming over to quote-unquote adopt imaginary friends are basically just Frankie's friends in real life that she is asked nicely to cooperate with them and do these, basically do her a favor, and that basically in the hopes that when her grandmother does pass, that she will be able to have a place for them to live, all of her friends to live in the mansion. So they hope that if they play along, she'll put in the will, they'll get the mansion, and that they all have a place to live while they go to college, or community college, which is where Frankie is going. Most of her friends are too. So it's beneficial to all of her and her friends to do this, so they get a place to live while they're going to college, instead of having to pay for dorms and stuff like that, which are very expensive. I know firsthand are very expensive and shitty to pay for. But that is basically the end of this theory, guys. It's a very, very good one. So I thank you guys a lot for bringing this to my attention. I've never heard this one before. So if you guys go ahead and drop another comment with more of these theories, or which series you want to see, which cartoon you want to see. And I'm also starting to do a bunch of ones that actually take place in real life. I did one on World War II conspiracy theories about Nazi weapons. I did one on D.B. Cooper. It was really good. If you haven't seen those, please go check those out. They're very fun videos. And I'll be doing more of those real life ones also. So if you want to see a real life conspiracy theory, a lot of people are asking for the JFK one, which is by far the biggest conspiracy theory in history. But leave me a comment telling me what you guys want to see. And as always, guys, game the fuck on. Until next time, peace out. And oh my god, right here, Just couldn't aim. Couldn't aim right there. My bad. Everyone has one of those days. But again, peace out. Game the fuck on. Until next time. See you next time. Alright, if you guys are new around here, you guys can feel free to subscribe so you get more of these cartoon conspiracy theories and other conspiracy theories in your sub box weekly. And also come check out this awesome gameplay of this new Battlefield 3 DLC I have and all of my other content. So come over and check it out and subscribe if you're new. And don't forget to drop a like. And see you next time. Peace out.